Good morning. We are so back. We are so back. Yes. Woohoo. Feels good. Feels good. Feels good. This isn't the ideal time to leave. Gotta check the time. Can't. Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. Oh, feels good. We are so back. So I am listening to a lot of Jonathan Blow. And he is definitely he's got, I don't know what I don't want to say we agree, because you can't really agree with Jonathan Blow. He's just right. And you're like, oh, well, I don't think that's true. And then he explains it and you're like, oh no, that is true. That's a problem. What am I going to do about it? So once you actually decide what to do about it, you realize that things need to change. And it's especially frustrating because I can remember when stuff like that was more normal. Like he had a 10-hour stream, and someone was like, did bro really stream for 10 hours? Like, did he really like do work for 10 hours? The answer is yeah. Like, if it's something you love and you spend a lot of time on it and like you enjoy it and enjoy the act of solving the problem, like the challenge of solving the problem, absolutely. Like, it's easy to while away an entire day. Whiling away is probably not the right term to use, but to spend an entire day just hacking at something. And, you know, maybe you don't have anything to show for it at the end of the day, but maybe you do. And that's just, it's an awesome day. He does note this actually, because it does burn you out. And, you know, in my 20s, sure, yeah. You can run all day and then pull an all-nighter and then get up the next morning and go straight to work and then come home and then spend some more time on it. Like, I'll tell you, if you're under 20, like, I'm sorry, if you're under 30, enjoy that extra energy. And that's when you should be having kids, at that point, because that's when you need the most energy for it, when you can actually kind of keep up with them. I also enjoy hurting your back and then it getting better within like 3 weeks, because that was something that like oh, kind of twisted my back a little bit. Oh, I was a little sore the next day. And then like right after you're 30 and 1 day old, you're like, oh, I hurt my back. 3 weeks later, you're like, I think it's starting to feel better. Not starting, but like at 3 weeks, you kind of get that little bit of soreness at the end where you're like, I'm pretty sure it's gone. Is it gone? Is it gone? I've gotten up and I don't feel the back pain that I felt for so many days. Is something missing? Oh goodness. You just gotta, you know, past a certain point, your primary focus does not become pushing yourself to your limit. It becomes making sure you don't get hurt, so that you can kiss that limit tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. One of the things that I didn't really agree with or understand or agree with, I guess I could say, but one of those things was the idea of mental fatigue, and the idea that like I can't brain anymore today. Like, I've used up all my brain. And I was just like, oh no, that's not a thing. You can just keep on going forever. Well, maybe it's more of a thing when you get older, but I can kind of look back and see where I had infinite energy for things that piqued my interest. But if it was work, or if it was particularly hard, like that's where, especially from a learning perspective, if you're actually trying to process and grok what you're consuming, consuming, right? what you're observing, what you're trying to learn from, like consume. Like if you are actually trying to learn from it, it's very different from like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Like I can read a book, like it's like a thriller or like a page turner book. Like you can rip through those easy, and it's not like, oh, well, this is this is really taxing my mental faculties. Like, oh, I'm reading, therefore I'm thinking. Yeah, kind of. But if you're actually learning something, if you're actually stretching your limits, you really can't do it for an extended period of time. And maybe that's why you should be in college while you're young. It's quite, well, it's taxing. And that's the idea, is that like you run out of juice, and then you run out of juice, and it's like, well, I'm not really learning anything anymore. I need to take a break. And then the question is, how do you recharge? So that the idea of consuming, I was thinking about that for a while. That came across this idea, like, so previously I talked about how the browser is consumer software, because you literally browse on it. You use the browser to consume someone else's media, something else that someone else made. Should I be going straight here? Should be going straight here. It is a browser is not creative software. It is like necessarily not creative software. You could probably hack at something in a JavaScript console, but that's like using a square peg in a round hole. Like, well, I can do it, and it doesn't mean it's optimal or ideal or even a good idea. I think about this when people are talking about text editors. Like, hey, yeah, your command line console, the Windows command line console is a text editor, in that you can use the arrow keys to go back and forward and hit delete and backspace to edit the text. That doesn't make it a text editor. It can edit text. That doesn't make it a text editor. The idea that the browser is inherently consumer software, and if you have a browser open, you are consuming product. You are consuming the product someone else has provided for you or created or is charging you for. You're paying for that product in some way, whether it be monetarily, electricity, or attention. We always pay attention. That's one of the things we overlook the most. The thing we pay the most is attention. But the extension of that, the browser extension of that, is that some software is consumer software, in that you can buy it at the store. Well, I shouldn't say it. Okay, I'm old, and it used to be that if you wanted software, you would go to the store, usually the electronics store, the office supply store or something, and there would be software, boxes of software lined up on the shelves, mostly games that you've never played, but also some like actual legit high quality business software. You know, Microsoft Excel, for as much as I laugh at it and the idea of this mission creep that it had, it is extremely complete software. It is extremely powerful software. And to have something even close in OpenOffice is just, spreadsheets are, I need to get back into spreadsheets, frankly. It's just too easy to be able to do stuff in there. And I start building stuff in spreadsheets. But my point was that you have this consumer idea of, you go to the store and you buy a completed product, or mostly completed product, and that product is mostly feature complete, and it's just what it is. The software is what it is. Especially like a video game or something like that. You buy one of those nasty video games at I think I go straight here. Shoot. We have moved office, and I'm not 100% on what the optimal route is to get there, particularly at different times of day. And then if it's around school time, then it gets very erratic for what is the optimal path, whether it's 5 minutes before 7, 5 minutes, 10 minutes before 7, 10 minutes after 7, or 20 minutes after 7. It all varies. So pardon me. Especially those video games, low quality, low tier video games. Like you're not getting updates. If you find a bug in it, you found a bug in it. That's it. Like the transaction is over. But the idea is that this experience has been created for you, and you experience it as soon as you put the CD in and install the software and run it. So there's not a lot of interaction, I guess. Interaction's not co-development, I would say. Certainly with Excel, you can go online or get information from other people for things like macros and be like, you know, Excel doesn't do this thing, I really wish it would do this thing. And then you can open up that macro panel, I assume it's a panel, and then write your own macros to kind of extend the functionality of Microsoft Excel. Now, I'm going to tie this around to text editors, but there's a level of co-development of openness. Yeah, openness, I could say, to interaction, to interface with the user, to be able to say, am I allowed to customize this software? And if I am, to what degree am I allowed to customize this software? Because the first level of software customization is like changing the font, changing the wallpaper, changing the background. That's actually kind of interesting because on Windows 10 or 11 or Windows, whatever, if you do not activate Windows, which, like, why would you? Obviously, you cannot customize the background. Like, this is the punishment. The punishment is you cannot change your wallpaper. And there's a watermark, which is just kind of funny. Like, is that what your software? Is that really what gets people to buy the software, to pay money for the software? It's an interesting idea for like a demo experience, but still, like this is the feature you're paywalling, is change the wallpaper. Ta-da! All right. But the point is that you don't have like, what is the level of customization? The first level is, you know, changing the colors, changing the fonts, customizing the screen, and then you can. That's actually kind of interesting because one of the things people love about Linux is ricing it out, to be able to try not to say welcome to the rice fields, and yet here we are. Like that's one of the primary things. Like, people are like, oh, if I get Linux, I can make a really cool looking desktop. You know, it always looks kind of the same, but I can modify it. I can make it really much more interesting if I switch to Linux. So people are like getting alternative applications and learning new software just so they can rice their desktop, just so they can make it look cooler and more futuristic. And that's you know, obviously this is not for me. This is not what attracts me, what draws me towards this stuff, but it draws others, so whatever. That's the first level. And then I'm going to allow you to imagine that I created some increasing levels leading towards something like level 3 being an API and level 4 being like, you know, games used to come with map editors. Like, seriously, was it Fallout, Far Cry 2. I'll link that in the description. Far Cry 2 had a map editor that was fantastic. It was amazing, and you could make cool maps and share them online, and then play on them with your friends. And that was just like in the box. It was just there. You could just do it. And you know what happened when you did it? Is you extended the life of that game. You made it much more interesting. You, as the user, as the end user, created content for that game and made that game more valuable, necessarily more valuable. More people wanted to play that game. You know, all my friends are playing this Far Cry game. They started making custom maps, and they've been playing it for like 3 months, and I don't have the game, and now I want the game. Now I got to go buy this old game. You know, it's a year old or whatever, but I'm going to buy it so I can play these cool maps and like play with my friends. That was like kind of the community experience of it. And that's where, and then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked, when when the microtransactions attacked. Because then it was an idea of not, hey, we can get more sales off this game that we already made. We already made this game. This game is complete. We don't have to put any more time or effort into it. We don't have to put any more development resources into it because the users are already creating more content for it. And we just get free sales. we just get extra sales. All we got to do is hit print on the CDs and keep publishing more. Or nowadays it's, sell it electronically. It doesn't even matter. Like it is the community printing free money for you for something you already completed. That doesn't cost anything to maintain except, maybe some servers, login servers or something like that. But, people used to be able to connect directly to peer-to-peer. Or like LAN parties, man. Yeah, we could do that. But instead, it went, no. We can't have the user creating content because we need to create the content so that we can curate the content and we can charge for the content. And yeah, you would find like every once in a while a Far Cry map or something that like had a giant statue with an erection or something like that. But yeah, this is early internet here. I'm not saying it was a good thing. I'm just saying it was a thing that happened, and it was a thing that people really enjoyed. Like it was fun to be able to make your own thing. Expressivity is what I'm trying to get at. Expressivity, like you have the ability to express yourself through this software, even if the medium is creating really weird Warcraft maps, Warcraft custom maps. And my friend and I spent, I can't even remember what it was called. My friend and I spent like months. Like every weekend we would get together, we would go to his house and work on this Warcraft map. We would have like a CD and, is this right? Yeah. We have like a floppy disk and run the floppy disk back and forth. Like, I'm working on this, I'm changing that, I made a modification here, and then work on the scripting for it. So once your character hits this flag, and if this character is in this area, then that means that you trick this flag, and then that changes this, and replace this character with that character. Very powerful stuff. That is where, that is the origin of this, what is it, MOBA? I'm not sure what MOBA is, but I know that it was originally a mod, not a mod, but like a custom map for one of those games or something. I don't know. The point was like this creativity, this expressivity, and that's the question, is in the software that you're using, and in my case I'm talking more about the text editor that you're using, or the meta operating system in the case of Emacs. What is the level of expressivity you are allowed with this software? What do the developers say? You can mess with this. You are allowed to mess with this. And then how good is that expressivity? VimScript is not well known for being intuitive or intelligent. It can do stuff. There's bad programming languages. There's stuff that's tacked on, post facto, and that's okay. But you can't do it after the fact and then be like, oh well, this is ideal, because it's very clearly not. And that's what you kind of get with Emacs. It was designed. What you get with Emacs is written basically in eLisp. It has a very small core. I think it's supposed to be like 10% or near 10%. That's actually written in C, actually compiled, and then the rest is just eLisp. It runs its own language that runs its own system. You have this opportunity to futz around and mess around with, to customize 90% of what is in Emacs, to open it up and to read it and to say, I would like to add this here, please. And then no one says no. No one looks at you and says, that's a bad idea. No one says, ooh, actually, you're not allowed to do that. You can't do that. It's amazing, because that level of customization, that level of expressivity allows you, expressiveness, allows you to build the tool into something that is custom. Like, you should not be buying productivity software straight off the shelf. You should not be running default settings on anything except a default Fortnite skin. Like, that should not be even in your mind. The first thing you should be doing as soon as you fire up the piece of software is, why is this annoying? And how can I change it? Why does this slow me down? And how can I make it faster? Where is this bugging me? Where is this bothering me? Where is this interrupting me? Where is this interrupting my flow state is probably exactly the question you need to ask. Where is this interrupting my flow state? Where is this tripping me up? And how do I make it stop? And since everyone is quite unique, everyone is pretty different, and everyone has generally different workflows. You know, I'm not going to say that everyone has literally different workflows, but if literally everyone had the ability to customize software to the degree that Emacs allows it, they probably would be going, you know, looking at something and say, oh, this is good enough. No. If you have that level of customization, if that is afforded to you, if that is open to you, your object is not to look at it and say, oh, well, is this good enough? Your object is to customize it. Your goal should be to customize it. And if you're not going to customize your tools, if you're not going to build specifically to your workflow, if you're not going to use the medium as a programmer, if you're not going to play within this medium that you have, this medium of data and of programming, to be able to say, I'm going to make this into something that's perfectly fitted for me. If you're not going to do that, then you're not a programmer. It's like if you go to a blacksmith and the blacksmith is, you know, heating steel and working with steel and hammering and forging and shaping and reshaping. And then you're like, oh, how are things? How do you like those tongs? And he's like, oh, the tongs are fine. They're pretty good. They could really be like 2 inches longer. If they were 2 inches longer, it would be a lot better. And maybe the jaw's a little bit further out from the hinge point. Just a little bit. Just a slight modification. If only. But I went to the store and the next size up is too big. And the size I have is the next size down. There's nothing in the middle. Darn. Forge your own. Make your own. Modify your own. Build your own. This is the medium that you work in. To look at it and say, oh, well, you know, it's just not quite 100% there. It's just not quite perfect for my use case. It's just not quite exactly what I want. So make it.